I stand alone in the church's bridal room, sunlight streaming through stained glass windows, casting blues and golds across my wedding dress. My reflection stares back at me from the antique mirror, tear tracks glistening on my cheeks, phone still clutched in my trembling hand. A soft knock breaks the silence. The door creaks open and Linda, our wedding coordinator, pokes her head in. Her smile fades when she sees my face. "Megan, your father called the front desk?" The question hangs in the air. I draw a deep breath, straighten my spine, and meet her gaze. "They're not coming," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. "They chose my sister's barbecue instead." Linda's mouth forms a perfect O. The kindness in her eyes almost undoes me. 20 minutes earlier, I'd been all nervous energy and anticipation. The makeup artist had just finished, declaring me the most radiant bride she'd seen all season. My hands shook as I reached for my phone when it rang, Dad's name lighting up the screen. "Daddy, are you almost here?" My voice had been bright, eager, childlike even. "Megan." His tone stopped me cold. That flat, matter-of-fact voice he used when delivering disappointing news. I'd heard it so many times before. "We won't be able to make it today, sweetheart." My free hand gripped the back of the vanity chair. "What do you mean?" "Tara's housewarming barbecue just can't be rescheduled. All her new neighbors are coming, and the food's already been ordered." I pressed the phone tighter against my ear, certain I'd misheard. "Dad, it's my wedding day." "I know, honey, and I'm sorry about the timing. These things happen." "These things happen." As if missing your daughter's wedding was like missing a movie night or dinner reservation. "Mom wanted me to tell you we're both very sorry," he continued, his voice growing softer with practiced regret. "Tara sends her love." The silence stretched between us, familiar as an old scar. "Megan, are you there?" "I'm here." Two simple words, yet they seemed to come from somewhere outside myself. "We'll make it up to you. Maybe take you and Daniel out to a nice dinner next month." I'd closed my eyes, seeing not the bridal room around me but a scene from 20 years ago. 8-year-old me standing in our driveway, watching Mom and Dad load suitcases into the car. Tara bouncing in the back seat, waving her Minnie Mouse ears. "You'll have a wonderful time with Grandma and Grandpa," Mom had said, brushing a kiss across my forehead. "Disneyland would be too overwhelming for someone your age." I was 11 months younger than Tara. That night, Grandpa George taught me to fish in the pond behind their farmhouse. "More fish for us," he'd said with a wink when I asked why my parents always left me behind. Later, Grandma Linda let me help bake apple pie, lifting me onto a stool so I could reach the counter. "Some people don't know the value of what they have right in front of them," she'd murmured, her flour-dusted hands gentle on my shoulders. "The accidental child, the afterthought, always left behind." I stare at my reflection now, wiping tears away with steady fingers. The woman looking back at me isn't surprised, only disappointed. I'd sent the invitations more out of obligation than hope, knowing deep down what would happen. The wedding gown catches the light, thousands of tiny beads shimmering. Grandma and Grandpa had insisted on helping pay for it, despite my protests. "Every bride deserves to feel like royalty," Grandma had said, eyes misting when I stepped out of the dressing room. My gaze shifts to my phone. 3 missed calls from Daniel. My soon-to-be husband, probably wondering where I've disappeared to. He'll be worried. Something hardens in my eyes. A decision. I speed dial a number, holding my breath. "Grandpa George? Are you still in the church lobby?" My voice grows stronger with each word. "Dad won't be walking me down the aisle after all." A brief pause, then his voice, warm, sturdy as an oak. "I'd be honored to take his place, sweetheart, if you'll have me." I couldn't imagine anyone better. The weight lifts from my shoulders as I make my choice. Today isn't about who isn't here. It's about who always has been. I smooth my dress, touch Grandma's pearls at my throat, and turn toward the door. My reflection smiles back at me, smaller than before, but real. "Some things shatter you. Others set you free." I trace my finger over the embossed cardstock, the elegant gold lettering catching the afternoon light streaming through our apartment windows. Daniel watches from the kitchen doorway, coffee mug suspended halfway to his lips. We should all move forward as family, I read aloud, my voice flat. A bitter laugh escapes before I can stop it. Daniel sets his mug down and crosses to the sofa, the cushions dipping as he sits beside me. Your parents? Instead of answering, I rise and walk to the bookshelf where a wedding album sits. Behind it, hidden from casual view, rests a small wooden box, Grandpa George's handiwork, carved with delicate wildflowers. I bring it to the coffee table and lift the lid. 1 month after we get married, they decide family matters. My hands tremble slightly as I withdraw the stack of birthday cards. 3 years of silence, then suddenly they care. Daniel doesn't reach for the cards, respecting the invisible boundary around these pieces of my past. Smart man, my husband. I fan them across the table, cheerful envelopes in pastel colors, each containing identical sentiments. Happy birthday, Megan. We miss you. Not once did they call. I tapped the most recent card. Not once in 3 years did they actually try to see me. Just these performative gestures. The afternoon sun shifts, casting shadows across the carpet, and suddenly I'm 16 again, sitting in a sterile hospital room as fluorescent lights buzz overhead. Can you tell me what happened? The nurse's voice is gentle, her eyes flicking to the security guard hovering near the door. My split lip throbs in time with my heartbeat, 4 fresh stitches pulling tight with every wince. I fell. I say automatically, the lie practiced and perfect. The nurse, her name tag reads, Marlene, adjusts her glasses and makes a note on her clipboard. That's quite a fall. She gestures to my face, the bruising already blooming purple across my cheekbone. Doorknobs don't usually swing back for a second hit. My fingers clench the paper sheet covering the examination table. Outside, voices rise in the hallway, my parents arriving. But it's what the nurse says next that changes everything. Your sister seems very upset. A cold weight settles in my stomach. Tara's here? The nurse nods. In the waiting room with a young man. She's quite distraught. Because she'd been caught. Because Eric Chambers had asked me to study with him instead of her. Because I hadn't immediately declined. The examination room door bursts open, my mother rushing in with tear-streaked makeup. Behind her, Dad stands rigid in the doorway, his face thunderous. Neither looks at me. Where is Tara now? Mom demands of the nurse. She's fragile as she needs us. The nurse's expression shifts minutely. Your daughter has a concussion, a split lip requiring stitches, and severe facial contusions. Megan understands her sister. Dad says, finally glancing at me, his eyes conveying a clear message. Say nothing. Fix this. But for once, I don't nod or agree. Something in the nurse's quiet compassion unlocks a door inside me. Tara hit me, I say, my voice small but steady. When I told her Eric asked me to study with him. The silence stretches, elastic and dangerous. Mom recovers first. Megan, you know your sister doesn't handle disappointment well. Why would you upset her like that? The memory dissolves as Daniel's hand covers mine, warm and solid, anchoring me to the present. A CPS worker came to the house the next day. I tell him, though he's heard pieces of this story before. The hospital filed a report. I rise and move to the window, watching a young couple walking a golden retriever puppy across the street. So normal. So foreign. My parents were furious, I continue. Not at Tara for putting me in the hospital. At me for not lying better. A muscle in my jaw tightens. My mother stood in our living room while the social worker interviewed me and said, the words stick even now. I swallow hard. She said, if you can't protect your sister, you're not one of us. Daniel makes a sound. Something between a curse and pain. That night, I packed everything that mattered into 2 suitcases. Grandpa George came to get me. The memory softens the edges of my voice. My father tried to stop him, started talking about family loyalty and keeping problems private. I turned from the window, meeting Daniel's eyes. Grandpa looked him straight in the face and said, "That girl needs safety more than you need your pride." And then he took me home, their home, where I belonged. The afternoon light shifts again, painting everything golden. In my mind, I see Grandma Linda arranging fresh flowers in the bedroom. They'd prepared my favorite books already on the shelves, thick quilts on the bed, a lock on the door I could control. "They made me a sanctuary," I say quietly. My fingers drift to the scar near my eyebrow, barely visible now. At graduation, I kept scanning the audience. Stupid, right? 3 rows back, my grandparents sat with these ridiculous air horns Grandpa had smuggled in. When they announced my scholarship, they stood and cheered like I'd won the Nobel Prize. I pause, my throat tight. My parents showed up during the final hour. They'd only come for Tara's choir performance. Daniel rises and crosses to me, his arms encircling my waist from behind, chin resting on my shoulder. "Their loss," he whispers against my ear. I lean back into his strength, watching the young couple with their puppy disappear around the corner. "Sometimes the family who should love you the most loves you the least," I say softly, turning the new card from my parents over in my hands. I learned that lesson young. Daniel takes the card gently, tossing it into the trash bin beside the desk. His gesture asks a question. I nod, exhaling slowly. "The most painful test is still coming, though." "What do you mean?" "What happens when the family who abandoned you suddenly wants back in? What happens when they only want you when it's convenient for them?" The silence stretches between us, filled with all the answers we both already know. I stand in my new dorm room, the empty walls staring back at me like blank pages waiting to be filled. 300 miles from my hometown feels like breathing different air. Cleaner, lighter, free from the shadow of being Tara's forgotten sister. My roommate Katie bursts through the door, arms laden with throw pillows and photo frames. "Sorry I'm late." Mom wouldn't stop crying. She dumps everything on her bed and surveys my half of the room. Her gaze lingers on my barren desk and the solitary photo of Grandma Linda and Grandpa George. "No family pictures?" she asks, then winces at her own question. I smooth the corner of my bedspread. "Actually, that is my family." Katie's eyes widen with understanding, not pity. "Well, they look like they adore you." "They do," I smile. "They're the one who taught me what family actually means." The library ceiling soars 15 feet above the reference section, and I stand on tiptoes, fingers grazing the spine of Principles of Conservation Biology. My muscles stretch beyond comfort, but the book remains maddeningly out of reach. "Need a hand?" The voice behind me rumbles low and warm. I turn to find a tall guy with glasses and rumpled dark hair watching me with amusement. "Unless you're secretly enjoying watching me suffer," I reply. He laughs and reaches up, easily plucking the book from the shelf. "Daniel Mercer," he says, handing it over. "And I never enjoy watching anyone suffer." His fingers brush mine. Something electric passes between us. "Megan Collins." I clutch the book to my chest. "Thanks for the rescue." "Anytime." He gestures to the worn paperback tucked under his arm. "Bradbury fan?" My eyebrows lift in surprise. "Fahrenheit 451 is my favorite." "Mine too," he says, eyes crinkling. Book people have to stick together in a world of screens. We talk until the library closes, our voices dropping to whispers as other students drift away. Daniel listens, really listens, when I finally reveal fragments of my childhood. No interruptions, no platitudes, no awkward shifting away from uncomfortable truths. When I finish, he simply says, "Their loss, Megan Collins. Completely their loss." The Mercer family home glows with warmth when I step inside for Thanksgiving. Steam rises from pots on the stove, while football plays in the background. So ordinary, so unfamiliar. "Megan," Daniel's mother rushes forward, flour dusting her apron. "We've been counting down the days." Daniel squeezes my hand before his brothers pull him into a debate about the game. I follow his mother into the kitchen, where she hands me an apron. Daniel says you're interested in cooking, she says. I've never really had the chance to learn family recipes. Something flickers across her face, understanding without the weight of judgment. Well, these mashed potatoes have been passed down for 4 generations. You're about to become generation 5. Later, when Margaret Mercer pulls a box from beneath the tree and hands it to me, I'm confused. Christmas isn't for another month. Just a little pre-Christmas tradition, she explains. Each year, we give one early gift. Inside lies a hand-knit stocking with my name embroidered across the top. Not an afterthought, not a hasty addition. My name planned and permanent. I excuse myself to the bathroom, where I press my face into a towel and let silent tears soak the cotton. When I return, no one mentions my red-rimmed eyes. The academic dean's office smells like old books and coffee. Miss Collins, your application for the library sciences internship is quite impressive. I straighten in my chair. Thank you, sir. 2 campus jobs while maintaining a 3.9 GPA. He reviews my file. Most students struggle with half that workload. A knot forms in my throat. I think of endless nights studying under my desk lamp, eyes burning with exhaustion. I'm accustomed to making things work. Well, Mrs. Jeffrey specifically requested you for the special collections position. Says you have, quote, extraordinary attention to detail and a reverence for historical texts. Pride blooms in my chest, warm and unfamiliar. This praise belongs entirely to Minoa comparison, not an afterthought, but recognition for my own merit. When can you start, he asks. Yesterday, I say, and he laughs. Grandpa George's farm spreads before us, autumn leaves crunching beneath our feet. Daniel's hand slips into mine as we walk the familiar path to the pond. You're quiet today, I say. Just thinking. His thumb brushes my knuckles. Your grandfather caught me staring at fishing lures for 20 minutes this morning. I laugh. He probably thought you were contemplating fish psychology. No, he knew exactly what I was doing. Daniel stops at the pond's edge, where years ago Grandpa taught me to fish after my parents left for Disneyland. He gave me something. Daniel drops to one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Inside gleams a delicate ring with a center stone surrounded by tiny diamonds. Grandma Linda's ring, I whisper. They love you so much, Megan. His voice wavers. Almost as much as I do. Will you marry me? Through blurred vision, I nod. Yes. Behind us, a twig snaps. Grandpa and Grandma stand at the tree line, her face wet with tears, his chest puffed with pride. They plan this moment. These people who never left me behind. The notification chimes while Daniel and I choose wedding venues online. I glance at my phone, then freeze. Nancy Collins has sent you a message. 5 years of silence, and now my mother reaches out, 12 hours after I posted our engagement photos. What is it? Daniel asks, concern etching his forehead. I turn the screen toward him. Suddenly, my mother remembers I exist. He reads the brief message. Your father and I are so happy for you. We'd love to discuss wedding plans. Are you sure you want to respond? Daniel's question holds no pressure, only protection. I stare at the screen, at my mother's profile picture showing her perfect smile beside my father and Tara at some beach resort. My thumb hovers over the keyboard, trembling slightly. Sometimes the people who hurt us most have perfect timing. They return just when our happiness feels complete. Megan? Daniel squeezes my hand. The choice stretches before me like 2 different futures. I arrive at Riverside Cafe 20 minutes early and claim the corner table by the window. The familiar scent of fresh-ground coffee beans reminds me of study sessions during college before life got complicated again. My fingers trace the rim of an empty mug as I rehearse what I'll say to the parents I haven't seen in 3 years. The bell above the door chimes. My spine stiffens before I even look up. They stand in the doorway scanning the room. Mom clutches her purse with white knuckles. Dad's hand rests on her lower back, guiding her forward when he spots me. 3 years haven't changed them, much. Mom's hair still perfectly colored, Dad's posture military straight. I rise as they approach. Mom's arms open for a hug that feels like embracing a mannequin, stiff, perfunctory. Dad extends his hand for a formal shake, as if we're concluding a business meeting rather than beginning a family reunion. You look well, Megan. Mom's eyes dart around the cafe. This is a lovely spot. How's the wedding planning coming along? Dad asks before I can respond to Mom. No. How have you been? No. We've missed you. Just straight to the agenda. It's going fine. I sip my water. Daniel and I have most details settled. That's wonderful, Mom says. And how is your job at the library? University archives. I'm the research librarian now. Dad nods, clearly uninterested. We should discuss the ceremony. Have you booked the church yet? The barista delivers their coffees black for Dad, vanilla latte for Mom. Same orders for 20 years. Yes, First Methodist downtown, May 15th. I watch their expressions carefully. Grandma helped me with the deposit. A flicker of annoyance crosses Dad's face at the mention of his mother. He clears his throat. We were thinking about the guest list. Here it comes. Will Tara be receiving an invitation? His tone suggests there's only one acceptable answer. I set my mug down deliberately. No. Mom gasps softly. Megan, she's your sister. I'm aware of our biological connection. What will people think? Mom leans forward, voice dropping to a whisper. Everyone, you have a sister. They'll ask questions. The real concern emerges. Not my feelings, not my safety, not even Tara's feelings, just appearances. I'm not concerned with what people think. I'm concerned with having a peaceful wedding day. Dad's jaw tightens. Families forgive, Megan. Forgiveness doesn't require exposure to further harm. Mom's eyes well with tears, the performance I've seen since childhood. We're finally being a family again, after all this time apart. She reaches across the table for my hand. Don't you want that? My hands tremble beneath the table, but I keep my voice steady. What I want is genuine connection, not conditional acceptance. That's not fair, Dad says, voice hardening. We've reached out. We're here. 3 years after I moved out. 6 months after I got engaged. I meet his gaze. Only when there's a public event where my absence might be noticed. Mom dabs at her eyes with a napkin. We could try family therapy. After the wedding, of course. Tara has promised to be on her best behavior, Dad adds. Just for the one day. The implication hangs unspoken. If I refuse, they'll withdraw again. The familiar threat disguised as reasonable compromise. I'll still walk you down the aisle, Dad offers, as if bestowing a great gift. That's what fathers do. I take a deep breath, hands still hidden beneath the table, where they can't see them shake. I'd rather have peace than fake harmony. Their faces transform, Mom's tears vanishing, Dad's jaw clenching. You've always been difficult, he says, always making mountains out of molehills. Perhaps we could compromise, Mom suggests desperately. What if Tara attends just the reception? I reach for my wallet, place enough cash on the table to cover all our drinks. I've already survived without you for 3 years. I stand, smoothing my skirt. I've built a good life with people who show up consistently, not just when it's convenient. Their stunned faces tell me they expected the same pattern. Their demands, my compliance. The power has shifted. I hope you'll reconsider, Dad calls as I walk away. I don't turn back. My steps are measured, my back straight. For the first time in their presence, I feel neither anger nor fear, just a quiet certainty that I've made the right choice. Some people will never value what they have until it's gone, and sometimes what's gone shouldn't come back. I stand alone in the church's bridal room, sunlight streaming through stained glass windows, casting blues and golds across my wedding dress. My reflection stares back at me from the antique mirror, tear tracks glistening on my cheeks, phone still clutched in my trembling hand. A soft knock breaks the silence. The door creaks open, and Linda, our wedding coordinator, pokes her head in. Her smile fades when she sees my face. Megan, your father called the front desk? The question hangs in the air. I draw a deep breath, straighten my spine, and meet her gaze. They're not coming, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. They chose my sister's barbecue instead. For 3 weeks, the pressure had been building. Mom called daily, her voice shifting between syrupy sweetness and wounded martyrdom. Absolutely certain about this decision, Megan? Family is forever. Weddings are meant to bring people together, not drive them apart. I'd stop whatever I was doing, addressing invitations, confirming flowers, finalizing vows, and listen to variations of the same conversation. My silence on the other end only fueled her determination. Your father barely sleeps. Is that what you want? To know you're causing him such distress? Then came Tara's text yesterday, blindsiding me completely. I'm not the one keeping us apart. Never have been. They've made their own choices about you. Always have. My fingers had hovered over my phone, unsure how to respond to this first ever acknowledgement of our family's dysfunction. Before I could decide, Dad called with his ultimatum. Tara's housewarming barbecue is the same day as your wedding. His voice carried that familiar note of finality. We can't be in 2 places at once, Megan. She scheduled it knowing my wedding date. The words tasted bitter on my tongue. She's been planning this for weeks. All her new neighbors are coming. Dad, I saved the dates 6 months ago. His sigh traveled across the phone line, heavy with manufactured regret. This is the consequence of your choice not to include your sister. Actions have consequences, Megan. The truth crashed over me like cold water. They'd never intended to come unless Tara was invited. This last-minute conflict was their exit strategy, their way of making me the villain while preserving their image as would-be attendees thwarted by circumstance. 20 minutes ago, I'd been all nervous energy and anticipation. The makeup artist had just finished, declaring me the most radiant bride she'd seen all season. My hands shook as I reached for my phone when it rang, Dad's name lighting up the screen. Daddy, are you almost here? My voice had been bright, eager, childlike even. Megan. His tone stopped me cold. That flat, matter-of-fact voice he used when delivering disappointing news. I'd heard it so many times before. We won't be able to make it today, sweetheart. My free hand gripped the back of the vanity chair. What do you mean? Tara's housewarming barbecue just can't be rescheduled. All her new neighbors are coming, and the food's already been ordered. I pressed the phone tighter against my ear, certain I'd misheard. Dad, it's my wedding day. I know, honey, and I'm sorry about the timing. These things happen. These things happen. As if missing your daughter's wedding was like missing a movie night or dinner reservation. Mom wanted me to tell you we're both very sorry, he continued, his voice growing softer with practiced regret. Tara sends her love. The silence stretched between us, familiar as an old scar. Megan, are you there? I'm here. 2 simple words, yet they seem to come from somewhere outside myself. We'll make it up to you. Maybe take you and Danielle to a nice dinner next month. I didn't argue, didn't plead, didn't cry. For the first time, I simply hung up without saying goodbye. My hands stopped shaking as I scrolled through my contacts and pressed Grandpa George's number. He answered on the first ring. Pumpkin? Everything okay? The lump in my throat dissolved at the sound of his voice. Dad's not coming. My voice grew stronger with each word. Would you walk me down the aisle instead? A pause, not of hesitation, but of emotion too big for words. I'd be honored, his voice cracked. More than you know. I've been waiting 68 years to walk a daughter down the aisle. I couldn't imagine anyone better. Now I touch Grandma's pearls at my throat and smooth my dress, checking my reflection one last time. Another knock sounds, gentler than the first. Megan? Grandpa George calls through the door. Whenever you're ready, I'm here. I open the door to find him standing tall in his navy suit, boutonniere perfectly straight, eyes misting when he sees me. He offers his arm with a small bow, courtly and dignified. You are the most beautiful bride these old eyes have ever seen, he says, voice steady despite the tears gathering at the corners of his eyes. "And the strongest woman I know." The church doors open. The gathered guests rise. Daniel waits at the altar, his face transforming with love when he spots me. Grandma sits in the front row, handkerchief clutched in her hand, beaming with the kind of pride only those who have truly loved you can show. Daniel's family fills the pews on my side. His mother insisted, refusing to let empty chairs tell a story of absence. Grandpa's arm is solid beneath my hand as we take our first step together. The music swells around us, but it's the whisper of his voice I hear. "Head high now, Megan. You're not walking toward what you've lost. You're walking toward everything you've found." I straighten my shoulders and match his stride, my smile growing with each step forward. I run my fingers over the silver frame holding our wedding photo. Daniel and I beam at each other, our faces caught in that perfect moment when everything else faded away. Grandpa George stands behind us, one hand on my shoulder, pride radiating from him like warmth from a winter fire. "This one goes right here," I say, placing it on the mantel of our new home. Daniel sets down a box marked kitchen and crosses to my side. Perfect spot. He wraps his arm around my waist, pulling me close against him. Sunlight streams through windows we haven't yet hung curtains in, catching dust motes that dance around us. The living room smells of fresh paint and possibility. Boxes labeled in my careful handwriting create a cardboard maze around us. "I still can't believe this is ours," I whisper. Daniel kisses my temple. "Believe it, we earned this." My gaze drifts across the mantel to the other frames we've arranged: my college graduation, with Grandma Linda dabbing tears, a faded photo of 8-year-old me fishing with Grandpa, Daniel proposing at the farm pond. Not a single image contains my parents or Tara. "You thinking about Thanksgiving?" Daniel asks, reading my silence. "Your mom called yesterday, asked if we wanted to host this year." "And?" I turn in his arms. "I told her maybe next year. First holiday married, I'd rather not juggle hosting and everything else." Daniel nods, understanding all I haven't said. "Whatever makes you comfortable, Mom's fine, yay." The peace I feel surprises me. 4 months ago, I stood alone in a church bridal room, shattered by yet another abandonment. Now I stand in my own home with a man who has never once made me feel like an afterthought. The email arrives exactly 1 month after our wedding. I stare at Tara's name in my inbox, finger hovering over the delete button. "You don't have to read it," Daniel says from across our dining table. "I know. But I do." The message opens with words I've never heard from my sister before. "I am truly sorry." My hands shake as I read about her jealousy, how she deliberately created conflicts when family events involved me, how she'd schedule important things on days she knew mattered to me. The barbecue wasn't spontaneous, she'd planned it for my wedding day on purpose. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know it was never your fault. It was mine. All of it." I close the laptop, oddly numb. "How does that make you feel?" Dr. Winters asks, her office a haven of calm blues and soft textures. Confused. I twist my wedding ring. 30 years of being the family scapegoat, and now she wants. What? Absolution? What do you think she wants? I don't know. Reconciliation? A clean slate? Dr. Winters leans forward slightly. "What do you want, Megan?" The question hangs between us. Outside her window, autumn leaves spiral downward. "I want to stop letting them control how I feel. Even their absence takes up so much space." She nods. "Forgiveness isn't about them deserving it, it's about whether holding on still serves you." I'm not ready to welcome her back. That's not what forgiveness requires. Boundaries are different from grudges. I consider this. So I can forgive without opening the door wide? Exactly. You can acknowledge her apology without rushing reconciliation. The phone feels heavy in my hand as I dial Grandpa's number. "Hello, sweetheart." His voice wraps around me like a quilt. "Hi, Grandpa." I sink onto our couch. "What are you and Grandma doing for Thanksgiving?" "Oh, probably just us this year. Mrs. Henderson might join us from next door." Would you both come to Daniel's parents' house instead? With us?" Silence stretches between us. We want to intrude on your in-laws' traditions. My throat tightens. You're my real family, Grandpa. You always have been. The words come out thick with unshed tears. The people I love most around the same table. His voice breaks. We'd be honored, Meggie, truly honored. Daniel's mother sets out her grandmother's china, each plate rimmed with gold. Their dining room buzzes with the warm chaos of family. Daniel's brothers arguing good-naturedly about football, his father deep in conversation with Grandpa George about woodworking, Grandma Linda showing Mrs. Cooper her secret pie crust recipe. I notice something unusual at the table. 2 empty chairs. Mom? Daniel questions when he sees them. She meets my eyes. I thought, just in case your parents or sister called. The door is always open in this family. Instead of pain, I feel something softer. Gratitude. They hadn't called. Probably wouldn't. But the space remained, an acknowledgement rather than an expectation. Daniel squeezes my hand under the table. Later, after pumpkin pie and coffee, I find myself alone by the mantel where Daniel's mother displays their family photos. She's added our wedding picture among them. My fingers trace a childhood photo with my grandparents, then drift to our wedding day. The joy in both images isn't pretended. Family is who loves you when it's hardest to love you. I whisper to no one and everyone. For the first time, those words feel like freedom instead of loss. I knew something was wrong the moment I stepped into NextGen Software's gleaming conference room. The morning light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows cast strange shadows across the polished glass table where Jessica Morton and Lisa Powell sat waiting. Their faces were carefully composed, the kind of practiced neutrality that comes with years of delivering bad news. My heels click against the hardwood floor as I approach, each step echoing in the sterile silence. 18 years in this building, and suddenly it feels foreign. The air conditioning hums overhead, too cold, as always. Some things never change, even when everything else is about to. Elena, Jessica says, her voice clipped and professional. Please, have a seat. I settle into the ergonomic chair across from them, noting how Lisa's manicured fingers tap nervously against a manila folder. The folder has my name on it. Of course it does. We appreciate you meeting with us this morning, Jessica continues, but I barely hear her. I'm focused on that folder, on the way Lisa keeps smoothing its edges, on the slight tremor in Jessica's typically steady voice. After nearly 2 decades in tech, I've learned to read the signs. This isn't a performance review or a project discussion. This is an execution. Due to an organizational restructuring, Jessica says, each word measured and emotionless, your position at NextGen Software is being eliminated, effective immediately. There it is. The betrayal I've spent months watching approach like a distant storm. Lisa slides the folder across the table. This contains the details of your severance package. Her voice is softer than Jessica's, almost apologetic. Almost. I don't reach for the folder. Instead, I think about the email I wasn't supposed to see 3 weeks ago. Clear your desk by Friday. It had been meant for HR's eyes only, but someone had slipped up with the distribution list. I deleted it immediately, but its words had burned into my memory. The severance is generous, Jessica adds, misreading my silence for shock. 6 months pay, plus. What about the algorithm? I interrupt, my voice steady despite the anger churning in my gut. The financial security protocol I developed, the one that's about to revolutionize how we protect client data? Jessica's jaw tightens. All work completed during your employment belongs to NextGen Software, as per your contract. Of course, that's what this is really about. Richard Hale, our ambitious CEO, has been watching my project gain attention. He's been attending my team presentations, asking pointed questions about implementation, market potential. I thought he was finally recognizing my contribution. Instead, he was preparing to claim it as his own. My phone vibrates against the table, drawing 3 pairs of eyes. An unknown number. The text preview catches my attention. The advantage is yours. Prepare for what comes next. I almost smile. They think they're so clever, these corporate puppets with their severance packages and legal jargon. They have no idea what's coming. I stand, smoothing my blazer. I assume that's all? Jessica blinks, thrown by my composure. Don't you want to review the severance terms? No need. I turn toward the door, then pause. You know what the funny thing is? If you'd bothered to check the development logs, You'd know I perfected that algorithm on my personal time, using my own resources. I meet Jessica's gaze. But you didn't check, did you? Color drains from Lisa's face. Jessica's expression hardens. Elena? Send any further communication through my lawyer. I stride toward the door, my steps echoing with purpose now. And Jessica? Tell Richard he should have waited until after the patent was filed. The door clicks shut behind me with satisfying finality. In my pocket, my phone buzzes again. The same unknown number. Stand by for instructions. The real game is just beginning. They thought they could discard me like outdated tech, sweep aside 18 years of innovation and loyalty. They thought wrong. I've spent my career developing security algorithms, protecting systems from threats. Now it's time to put those skills to a different use. I press the elevator button, watching my reflection in the polished doors. At 52, I'm apparently too old for Next Gen's new vision, too expensive for their bottom line. But age brings wisdom, experience, and most importantly, contingency plans. The elevator arrives with a soft chime. As I step inside, I allow myself a small smile. They just made their first mistake, and if I play this right, it will be their last. The fluorescent lights in Next Gen's adjacent building flicker as I scan another batch of internal documents. My fingers trace across confidential memos I've gathered over months, each page a piece of the puzzle I never wanted to complete. The clock on my desk reads 11:47 p.m. Security won't patrol this wing for another 13 minutes. I pull out the latest Felia strategic memo that makes my stomach turn. Richard Hale's signature sprawls across the bottom, a flourish of ego in black ink. The document outlines Next Gen's cost optimization strategy, but the sanitized corporate language can't mask its true intent, systematically replacing senior staff with entry-level developers at a third of the cost. My eyes lock onto a single paragraph. Priority focus on redistribution of intellectual property rights from legacy team members to new acquisition targets. The words blur as anger rises in my throat. They're not just firing us, they're stealing our work. I slide the memo into my encrypted folder and pull up the development logs for my financial security algorithm. Every timestamp, every modification, every breakthrough documented on my personal laptop, developed during countless sleepless nights in my home office. NextGen never bothered to check where or when the work was done. Their mistake. My phone vibrates. A message from Daniel Brooks at Titan Tech. Received your email. Very interested in discussing further. Can meet tomorrow, 8 p.m., Blue Door Cafe. I lean back in my chair, letting the implications sink in. Titan Tech is NextGen's biggest competitor, and Daniel Brooks has a reputation for recognizing innovation. More importantly, he has a history of going after NextGen's market share with surgical precision. The patrol guard's footsteps echo down the hallway. I power down my laptop and slide it into my bag, leaving no trace of my presence. The memo feels heavy in my pocket, damning evidence of corporate greed, wrapped in letterhead and legalese. As I drive home, Jessica Morton's voice from this morning's meeting replays in my mind. Her practiced neutrality as she delivered the news, the rehearsed speech about organizational restructuring. I wonder if she even read the memo before executing its directives. My home office is a stark contrast to NextGen's sterile environment. Here, surrounded by books and equipment I've acquired over 2 decades, I've built something they can't take away. I boot up my secure workstation and pull up the patent application I filed 3 weeks ago, the moment I first spotted the warning signs. The patent office's confirmation email sits in my inbox, unread. I open it now, a smile tugging at my lips as I scan the official language. My algorithm, my name, my patent. Not NextGen's. Not Richard's, mine. Daniel's contact information blinks on my phone screen. One call could set everything in motion. Titan Tech's resources combined with my innovation could reshape the industry. But it would mean war with NextGen, and wars have casualties. I think of my team Ethan's brilliant coding, Samantha's relentless testing. They trust me. Following me to Titan Tech would mean burning bridges, risking careers. But staying at NextGen means watching our work be stripped away, piece by piece. The choice crystallizes as I review the evidence one final time. The strategic memo, the patent confirmation, the development logs. A hidden folder on my laptop contains even more emails, meeting recordings, documentation that would make any corporate lawyer sweat. I draft my response to Daniel. Blue Door Cafe, 8 p.m. I'll bring something that will interest you. My finger hovers over the send button. This is the moment, the step that transforms me from victim to victor, from discarded talent to valuable asset. I press send. The familiar weight of my office chair grounds me as I consider what comes next. 18 years I gave to NextGen, building their security infrastructure, training their talent, advancing their capabilities. Now they'll learn what happens when they mistake experience for vulnerability, wisdom for weakness. I pull up the complete dossier. I've compiled evidence of NextGen's systematic dismantling of senior staff, proof of intellectual property theft, documentation of age discrimination masked as restructuring. Tomorrow, Daniel Brooks will see exactly what I'm offering. Not just an algorithm, but ammunition. My phone lights up with his reply. Looking forward to it. Come prepared to discuss terms. I close my laptop, darkness settling around me like a familiar blanket. Tomorrow, I'll sit across from Daniel Brooks and reshape my future. But tonight, I allow myself a moment to appreciate the irony. NextGen wanted to silently push me aside. Instead, they've given me the perfect reason to show them exactly what I'm worth. The war room I've created in my home office holds the weapons for this battle: facts, figures, and irrefutable proof. But my most powerful weapon is one they never saw coming. I have nothing left to lose and everything to reclaim. I watch the live feed on my tablet, a half-empty cup of coffee growing cold beside me. NextGen Software's board of directors files into their pristine high-rise conference room, their usual confident struts replaced by hurried steps. Richard Hale stands at the head of the table, his typical smooth demeanor cracking under pressure. Even through the grainy live stream, I can see the sheen of sweat on his forehead. The situation with Elena Carter is being grossly misrepresented, he says, his voice carrying that familiar patronizing tone. Her contributions, while valuable, were made under the company's direction and resources. A board member, Sandra Chen, I recognize her sharp feature taps her tablet screen. That's not what these documents suggest. She turns her device, displaying what I know are the internal memos I made sure would find their way to the right hands. The timestamps, development logs, and email trails paint a very different picture. Through my window, I catch a glimpse of the gathering media circus outside NextGen's building. News vans line the street, their satellite dishes reaching toward the sky like mechanical flowers hunting for sun. My phone buzzes with another stock alert. NextGen shares down 12% in morning trading. At my desk, I spread out my evidence in precise rows. Each folder represents months of meticulous documentation, development logs, email threads, timestamps of every breakthrough made on my own time. My fingers trace the coffee-stained edges of my research notebooks, filled with handwritten algorithms that would become the backbone of my security protocol. The weight of 18 years settles over me as I review each piece. But instead of feeling crushed, I feel lighter, stronger. Each document is another brick in the foundation of my defense, my offense, my future. I've spent my career building walls to protect data. Now I'm building walls to protect myself. I won't let them erase me, I whisper to my empty home office. The words feel like a promise, a battle cry, a prophecy, all at once. The restaurant Daniel chose for our meeting is exactly what I'd expect from Titan Tech CEO understated elegance, with private booths designed for discretion. Classical music plays softly overhead as I slide into the leather seat across from him. His sharp eyes assess me with the same intensity I use when debugging complex code. "Elena," he says, pouring water into my glass, "I've been following your situation with great interest." "Have you?" I take a careful sip, studying him over the rim. Along with the rest of Silicon Valley, I imagine. He smiles, but it's not the practiced corporate smile I'm used to from Richard. This one holds a touch of genuine admiration. "Your security algorithm is revolutionary. The fact that NextGen failed to recognize its value and your worth is their greatest mistake. And Titan Tech wouldn't make the same mistake? We're prepared to offer you the position of Chief Technology Officer." He slides a folder across the table, the leather portfolio embossed with Titan's distinctive logo. 2.5 million signing bonus, 5% equity, and complete autonomy to build your team. His eyes lock with mine, including any former NextGen engineers who might be looking for a change. My phone vibrates against the table. A message from Ethan. Team meeting set. Secure channel ready. Across town, in a dimly lit co-working space, I know Ethan and Samantha are huddled around a laptop, coordinating with our most trusted team members. Their loyalty isn't to NextGen, it never was. It was to the vision we built together, the innovations we created side by side during countless late nights and early mornings. Another message pops up, this one from Samantha. 15 confirmed. More coming. The exodus has begun. I glance at the financial news ticker, scrolling across the restaurant's discreet wall-mounted screen. Next-gen software stocks plummet as patent controversy deepens. Another headline follows. Titan Tech shares surge amid acquisition rumors. The familiar chime of an unknown caller cuts through the moment. I consider letting it go to voicemail, but something instinct perhaps makes me answer. Miss Carter? The voice is digitally altered, unrecognizable. There's something you should know about your former employment contract with NextGen. My hand tightens around the phone. Who is this? A friend. Check section 47.3, subsection B. The devil's in the details, isn't it? The line goes dead. I look up at Daniel, who raises an eyebrow in question. The portfolio lies open before me, its contents promising a future I've earned through years of undervalued brilliance. But that call, I pull up my copy of the NextGen contract on my tablet, my finger hovering over the search function. What hidden clause could change everything? And more importantly, who wants me to find it? The screens of 3 laptops cast a blue glow across my home office as I review the final details of my counterattack. Each monitor displays a different piece of the puzzle: patent documentation, development logs, and a secure video conference window connecting me to Sarah Chen, one of Silicon Valley's top intellectual property attorneys. The timestamp documentation is impeccable, Sarah says, her crisp voice filling my headphones. They won't be able to dispute your independent development claim. I lean back in my ergonomic chair, surrounded by meticulously organized binders containing 18 years of research notes. And the employment contract? The development clause is standard boilerplate. Won't hold up against your personal time logs and independent resources. Sarah taps her pen against her desk. We can file the patent registration within the hour. My fingers hover over the keyboard as I pull up the encrypted email drafted for Ethan and Samantha. They've been waiting for my signal, knowing this moment would come. The message contains precise instructions for their coordinated departure from NextGen. Timing is everything. Do it, I tell Sarah, hitting send on the email. The soft whoosh of the outgoing message feels like the first domino falling. Through my office window, I watch the San Francisco fog roll in, shrouding the city in gray. Somewhere in that urban maze, Richard Hale is about to discover just how badly he's miscalculated. The NextGen software press conference is a masterclass in corporate desperation. I watch the live stream on my laptop as Richard Hale takes the podium, his usual confidence replaced by barely concealed panic. The recent departures represent a standard organizational restructuring, he announces, tugging at his collar. NextGen software remains committed to. A hand shoots up from the press section. Mr. Hale, can you comment on the patent filing that went public this morning? The reporter's voice carries clearly through the audio feed. Specifically, the timestamp showing Dr. Carter developed the algorithm independently. The blood drains from Richard's face as security personnel rush to distribute printed statements damage control packets that are already obsolete. On my second screen, I watch the real-time coverage explode across tech news sites. My carefully leaked documentation, complete with internal memos and development logs, dominates every headline. Sources confirm NextGen software attempted to claim proprietary rights to independently develop technology. Scrolls across the bottom of the screen. Another outlet runs with, veteran innovator exposes corporate theft attempt. My phone buzzes with a text from Daniel Brooks at Titan Tech. Green light on the PR campaign. Ready to move. Within minutes, Titan Tech's official channels light up with statements from industry experts and analysts, all validating my claims. The narrative shifts faster than NextGen can control it. Richard stumbles through another non-answer, but the damage is done. In the corner of my screen, NextGen's stock price continues its downward spiral. This is a disaster. Richard's voice carries through NextGen's boardroom walls, according to my source's live updates. Where's legal? Someone get me a strategy. But there is no strategy that can save them now. Board members shift uncomfortably in their chairs as Richard's desperate attempts at damage control backfire. Each contradictory statement, each fumbled explanation only adds fuel to the fire. Sir, a junior executive interrupts. We're getting calls from major clients. They're requesting meetings to review their contracts. The news spreads through NextGen like wildfire. Employees gather in break rooms, sharing whispered conversations about the unfolding drama. Years of pent-up frustrations with management bubble to the surface as my story validates their own experiences with the company's toxic culture. My phone buzzes again, another update from the inside. Hale's called in crisis management. Too late, though. Your evidence is already trending. As the sun sets over San Francisco, I watch NextGen's stock price hit a 5-year low. My own team has safely extracted Ethan and Samantha confirmed their resignations hours ago, along with key members of our development group. The evidence they provided to the internal investigation team was just icing on the cake. A notification pops up, urgent email from Thomas Grant, NextGen's newly appointed CEO. The subject line catches my attention. Employment Contract Clause 7.3. I open the message, curious about this last-ditch effort at damage control. The carefully worded text hints at a previously overlooked clause, one that could provide a foundation for mutual resolution. Leaning back in my chair, I allow myself a small smile. They think this is their ace in the hole, but really, they're just revealing how desperate they've become. I'll let them sweat overnight before responding. After all, I didn't spend my career developing security algorithms just to be outmaneuvered by corporate politics. They thought they could discard me, but instead, they just made themselves obsolete. Tomorrow, we'll see just how much that overlooked clause is really worth. The cameras flash like lightning as I stand at the podium, my spine straight as steel. Titan Tech's expansive press room buzzes with anticipation, filled beyond capacity with journalists, industry analysts, and most satisfyingly several ashen-faced NextGen software executives. Daniel Brooks steps back from the microphone, having just announced Titan Tech's exclusive licensing rights to my financial security algorithm. His confident smile tells me he's enjoying this as much as I am. The stock ticker crawling across the screens behind us shows NextGen's shares in freefall. Miss Carter will now present the technical details of her groundbreaking innovation. Daniel announces. My heels click against the hardwood stage as I take his place. The room falls silent. I face countless presentations in my career, but none as vital as this. My fingers brush the sleek remote in my hand, and the first slide appears on the massive screens. What you're seeing, I say, my voice carrying clearly through the sound system, is the original development log of the financial security protocol dated 18 months ago. I click through to the next slide. And this is the email chain proving I developed this innovation using my personal resources on my own time. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. In the third row, I spot Jessica Morton's face, drained of its usual smug confidence. She whispers urgently to the NextGen lawyer beside her. The evidence is conclusive. I continue, bringing up the patent filing documentation. Every timestamp, every digital signature, every development milestone is documented and verified by independent experts. Camera shutters click frantically as I methodically dismantle NextGen's claims. Each piece of evidence lands like a precise blow. Internal emails exposing their attempts to claim my work. Research logs proving independent development. Time-stamped patent filings that protect my intellectual property rights. The questions come rapid fire from reporters. Miss Carter, will NextGen face legal consequences? What are the implications for the industry? Did Richard Hale personally orchestrate this attempt to steal your innovation? I handle each query with measured precision, watching my words cascade across social media in real time on the tracking screens. NextGen's representatives squirm in their seats, their phones lighting up with what I imagine are increasingly panicked messages from their board of directors. 2 days later, I stand in the federal courthouse, sunlight streaming through tall windows onto polished marble floors. The room buzzes with tension as my legal team prepares to present our case. Richard Hale sits across the aisle, his usual tailored appearance somehow diminished under the fluorescent lights. Your Honor, my lead counsel begins, her voice steady and clear. We have irrefutable evidence that Miss Carter developed this algorithm independently, using her own resources and time. She gestures to the mountain of documentation before her. The defendant's claim to this intellectual property is not just incorrect, it's fraudulent. The next 3 hours are a masterclass in legal precision. We present documented evidence, confidential memos revealing NextGen's attempts to claim my work, proprietary development logs with timestamps proving my independent creation, even security footage showing me working late in my home office on the dates in question. Richard Hale's lawyers attempt to counter, but each argument falls flat against our wall of evidence. I watch his face grow increasingly pale as our case builds to its inevitable conclusion. Your Honor, my counsel states, rising for her final argument, we're prepared to offer NextGen Software a licensing agreement. She pauses, letting the tension build. At 4 times the standard market rate, the judge's ruling comes down like a hammer. The licensing terms stand. Richard Hale's face contorts with barely contained rage. The industry analysts in attendance scramble to update their reports. This ruling will send shockwaves through the tech sector. The aftermath unfolds like a perfectly executed program. NextGen's leadership structure collapses within days. Richard Hale's resignation announcement plays on every major network, his usual arrogance replaced by barely concealed defeat. Jessica Morton's public apology, clearly crafted by crisis management experts, rings hollow against the backdrop of plummeting stock prices and fleeing clients. Meanwhile, Titan Tech's market share soars. My former team, now my new team, celebrates in our sleek innovation lab. Ethan raises a champagne toast, his grin reflecting the vindication we all feel. Samantha hugs me tight, whispering, "You showed them what real innovation looks like." The internal investigation at NextGen reveals exactly what I'd suspected: a systemic pattern of discarding experienced innovators in favor of cheaper, younger replacements. The tech blogs and industry publications can't get enough of the story. Elena Carter's brilliant counterstrike, one headline reads, "How One Woman Outsmarted Corporate Greed." As the dust settles, I receive an encrypted email from Thomas Grant, NextGen's newly appointed CEO. My office is quiet except for the gentle hum of servers. The message is carefully worded, hinting at a hidden clause in my old employment contract that could alter the licensing agreement's terms. I lean back in my chair, considering the implications. They're desperate to salvage something from this disaster. But I've learned never to underestimate corporate desperation. It makes people dangerous. The cursor blinks, waiting for my response. I've won the war, but something tells me the game isn't quite over. The question is, what move will NextGen attempt next? And how far am I willing to go to protect what I've built? I close the laptop, watching the city lights flicker outside my window. They thought they could discard me, erase 18 years of innovation with a single termination notice. Instead, they learned a crucial lesson. Experience doesn't make us obsolete, makes us dangerous. The future stretches before me, full of possibilities I never imagined when I walked into that conference room months ago. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning, it's forcing your enemies to watch as you succeed beyond their wildest fears. The morning light streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows of my corner office at Titan Tech, casting a golden glow across the mahogany desk. I trace my fingers along its polished surface, savoring the contrast to my cramped workspace at NextGen. 18 months ago, I sat in a sterile conference room while 2 HR representatives delivered what they thought was my death sentence. Now I stand 40 stories above San Francisco, watching the fog roll across the bay. My new office tells its own story of transformation. The cutting-edge displays lining the walls showcase real-time data from the security protocols I've implemented in my algorithm, enhanced and expanded, protecting millions of transactions every second. Each success is a quiet rebellion against those who tried to dismiss me as obsolete. The soft whir of the automatic doors breaks my reverie. My assistant Sarah appears with a stack of reports. "The board meeting starts in 10 minutes, Dr. Carter." I smooth my blazer and gather my tablet. The boardroom awaits, and this time, I'm not walking in as a victim. The Titan Tech boardroom is everything NextGen's wasn't: warm lighting, ergonomic chairs, and walls adorned with inspiring quotes from innovators throughout history. My favorite catches my eye. "Innovation is not about age, but vision." Daniel had it installed the day I accepted the CTO position. As I settle into my chair at the head of the table, memories of that other boardroom surface: Jessica's clipped tone, Lisa's nervous fingers, the manila folder with my name. But those ghosts hold no power here. They taught me the most valuable lesson of my career. True strength lies not in tenure, but in knowing your worth and refusing to let others define it. The room fills with my team faces, bright with purpose, tablets ready. Ethan Rivera takes his usual seat to my right, while Samantha Lee settles in across from him. They followed me from NextGen, believing in my vision when others couldn't see it. Their loyalty wasn't just rewarded, it was multiplied. Later that evening, the banquet hall buzzes with celebration. Crystal glasses clink as Titan Tech's finest gather to mark our latest milestone, the successful launch of our enhanced security protocol, now protecting twice as many clients as NextGen's entire portfolio. The irony isn't lost on any of us. Through the crowd, I spot Jordan Matthews, a recent hire from a rival firm with a story eerily similar to mine. 28, brilliant, and nearly broken by corporate politics that valued conformity over innovation. She hovers near the dessert table, looking slightly overwhelmed. "The chocolate mousse is exceptional," I say, approaching with 2 glasses of champagne. "Though not quite as exceptional as your work on the quantum encryption module." Jordan's eyes widen as I hand her a glass. Dr. Carter, I thank you. I was actually hoping to speak with you about the module. There's this application I've been considering. Walk with me, I interrupt, guiding her toward the quieter end of the hall. Tell me about this application. And more importantly, tell me about your last performance review at Quantum Dynamics. For the next hour, we talk strategy, innovation, and survival in an industry that too often mistakes experience for expendability. I see in Jordan's eyes the same fire that fueled my own resurrection, the determination to prove worth through excellence. Never let them make you doubt your value, I tell her, my voice firm. The moment they try to diminish you is the moment you know you're threatening their comfortable status quo. The conference hall falls silent as I approach the podium. Hundreds of faces turn toward me, industry leaders, emerging innovators, and yes, a few former next-gen executives trying not to look uncomfortable. The irony of being their keynote speaker isn't lost on me. Innovation, I begin, my voice carrying clearly through the state of the art sound system, isn't bound by age. It isn't limited by gender or tenure or corporate hierarchy. True innovation comes from those who refuse to accept artificial limitations, those who know that their worth isn't determined by others' narrow vision. I pause, letting my gaze sweep across the audience. In the front row, Jordan Matthews leans forward, hanging on every word. Behind her, Ethan and Samantha exchange knowing smiles. I stand before you today not as a victim of corporate betrayal, but as living proof that our greatest setbacks can become our most powerful catalysts. I reclaimed my future by never surrendering to betrayal. Let my journey remind you that your worth is defined by you alone. The applause thunders through the hall, but I barely hear it. Ethan and Samantha are the first to rise, leading a standing ovation. Their faces beam with pride and shared triumph. We've come so far from those uncertain days at NextGen. Around them, our entire team stands, each one a testament to the power of loyalty and innovation. Even Jordan Matthews is on her feet, her expression full of newfound determination. My mind is already on tomorrow's challenges, the next innovation, the future we're building at Titan Tech. As I stride out of the building into the bright morning light, my heels clicking against the polished floor with purpose, I allow myself a small smile. Through the glass doors, I catch my reflection, confident, powerful, unstoppable. The sun bathes the scene in golden light, a perfect metaphor for the limitless opportunities ahead. They thought they could write my ending. Instead, they only wrote their own. What would your next move be if you found yourself betrayed at work? Share your ideas and experiences in the comments. Let's inspire each other.